Are you supposed to be at work? Oh wow, 5th live stream definitely didn't get angry. It won't work, alright. Don't... Brad, if you could do me a favour, could you share this? Because we don't really have time. I'll give you free RC money. I don't know what that means. Yes. I'm doing soldering for the first time. Are you on it? Oh! No. Right. Bruh. Do you think you could share the live stream? To everyone let you know? Even your family? No, that might not be such a good idea. Hi Jess. Definitely not in the correct shack. Right, I'm doing soldering. Just in case, I thought I'd let you know that we're doing a bit of soldering. I've never done it in my life. So... see what connections the ESC takes. I said the ESC is supposed to be female and the battery is supposed to be male. So I got 2 female plugs and I got 4 batteries. So I need these males. Hi Seb, I'm getting prepared for tomorrow. It's gonna be good. I need duct tape. Duct tape, electrical tape. Just throw sweet in there. I'll have it. This is always scary. I don't like doing this. What is this? Yo. The hell is that? No. That looks sus. I don't know what it is. I guess I have to read the instructions. It does look a bit sus. I got the instructions, don't worry lads. Oh well, the shit. He's got 4! Where's it gone? Hi Ferg, how you doing? If anyone could share the live stream to everyone, that'd be great. I didn't have time this time. So... I mean, XT90s are easy to... Oh, a bit short. Oh! Does it just get warm instantly? Oh, it has no button. So I can't turn it off if I want. I guess I put that in there. No idea what I'm doing. As you can probably see. So I just let that cool for a bit. Just gonna let it hang. Because to be honest, I don't really care. What is that? What is that little thing? But they just included it without telling me. So, could anyone tell me what this is? It's like... I have no idea. Yes, Clark finally got an Xmaxx. Yes, I did. No. I literally can't tell what it is. Is it like for feeding solder through or? It doesn't even come out the end. Oh. It comes out the end now. I don't know what it is. It shoots. It sucks the solder. It's a solder sucker. Right, the solder iron's a bit warm. A solder sucker. I don't know how to use it. Sucks the solder off when you melt it. Oh, so I'm guessing I'm gonna have to get this prepared. So, push that in. That's pretty sick though. Alright. Who's ready to see a Lipo just go up in flames right before my face? That's the man. Hi, Bowler Driveways. Hi, Finley. Oh, I've got a few people in now. Oh, okay. Thanks. Right. Let's get dodgy. Right, so I have to put the male ones on. So... I don't think there is a positive or a negative on these. But I'm just going to clip one. I'm going to turn my solar now off. I can smell it. Hello there, Clark. Oh no. Don't you troll me again, Raz. I'll have to kick you out. Right, so... keep it short as possible. Oh! Right, that's crap. These batteries are thick, man. There we go. I'm just gonna keep the other one plugged in. Do not throw. I swear at me. I need like a sharper tool. This is not cut. Right, cut, which is not good. I like it cooking. God's sake, man! This is intense. There we go. Right, try to twist that a bit. Let's throw another sweat. God. I love it. Oh, it's oily. Right, I got some solder. I thought you were gonna throw another one at me then. Ah! It's in my bumhole! Right, so I know it's supposed to like solder the tip. So it's got a decent connection there. So I'm going to twist that around. So I'll turn that back on. Let it get a bit warm.
I'm so sorry.
I don't really know how hot I'm supposed to let it get. Clark, be so. This is really with the mic. What do you mean? What are you doing? You're up to something. Don't throw one now. This is not a great time to throw one. Right, that's not hard enough. A crisp brown, yeah. Oh, it's a bit warm. If I burn myself in this way, just laugh. Ugh, kill me. Oh. No, I stuck my soldering. Ugh. Let's just burn the table. I've never soldered in my life. Leave me alone! Not throwing at me!
I was told to.
Oh! Double at me. You throw a bottle at me. I throw my cat at you.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Oh, melting the table, are we? Where's my solder? Oh. Just throw it at me again.
I'm looking hungry.
Do you know? My dodgy soldering. It's probably more dodgy than Martin's soldering. Oh. Well, it didn't work. Bye bye Lipo warranty. There is no warranty on these. Not bad. Not bad. Do not throw one at me. If you throw one at me, so. Right, that didn't work. It's just the solder. I don't think I'll let the iron get hard enough. Well, that's a bit better. Do you not follow me? Do you want to Chris Brown you?
Look at the chat.
Do you know the alphabet?
No.
You missed. Tomorrow you need to not land on the pies, you don't want to destroy the gears. God. Yeah, I don't want to destroy the gears. I'm burning my table. Nicking just as sweet. I think I did it. Well, that's one half of a battery. Oh fuck! It didn't work. This is so hard. Trust me, I've seen it in the act. Is a joint shiny? Looks shiny enough to me. I have to search some videos and how to solder. Fuck! Oh, touchdown. Fucking. Whoa, that was great content. Get the fuck out of my hand. Oh, this is so hard, man. What is going on? Something's happening on the channel. Right, I'm gonna have to search on videos. How to solder XD90s. See how this goes. I like that everyone's watching me just burn my hand off every 5 seconds. I won't be able to answer comments at the moment. How? Hotel California? Like, Hotel Sweet Home Alabama? It's so funny!
I said Sweet Home California, not.
What did I say that one time?
He said Sweet Home California, not Hotel
Oh.
Alabama. Fucking hell.
Dickhead. How to solder XT90s. Yeah, boy! They're a bit hard. Like, they're the easiest plug-in, I can't even do it. What a wetty. Can't even solder. My dad must be proud.
Bullying me.
Good.
Okay guys, this video is all about how to solve that XT90 connectors. I'm going to try and keep it simple and to the point as I can. Whether you need to solve
Yes, lad.
connectors guys, while I'm doing this, I've got a cat pack from JJ Customs to my 8S armour infraction. Now guys,
Oh, I found a sweet in my chair.
soldering XT90 connectors. Do not think that they come apart like an EC5 connector does. So don't attempt to go and try and hammer these pins like that, because it will end very badly. As you may gather from the slight laughter, has made that error. So
Try a
learn from
different
my
pub.
mistakes, guys. Anybody who wants me to do a video on soldering the EC5 connectors up, then please shout away in the comment section below the video. Before soldering any connectors like these, you need to make sure the wires are well tinned. Now, you can use your soldering iron for doing these.
So it needs to be well tinned.
If you've got any kind of volume of them, I would recommend getting any one of these tinning pots on here. Yours for about from your local electronics store or off
I need to tin them. I don't think mine's well tinned. Fuck shit.
Tin leads in a matter of seconds. This is one of the best time savers in electronics I've ever bought. Because you can do battery leads,
Oh, I meant to plug my camera in.
and you can make up connector leads. You'll know, guys, so when it comes to soldering XT90 connector, guys, you'll note this cut is facing upwards. And also this one, when I turn it around, also goes that way. So we'll let gravity do the work in terms of putting the solder in there and tinning the bit. Sometimes they come and they're twisted to one side, so you can get a pair of pliers and very gently twist the cups around that way. Now one other thing is, the pins are in this because it's made of a high temperature like nylon plastic. The EC5 ones will melt if you try and put them in your soldering iron near them. So the EC5 ones,
See how to
that's why
solder.
they come with a separate pin. So you wire the pin up and then you push the connector in. It's in this, will melt it. It's in this, fingers crossed, what? Just remember guys, if you like what you see today, don't get subscribed. But I would just say, word of warning guys, if anybody's got one of these other sides, I would not let any young kids come anywhere near this. Even I'm very careful with it because it's obviously full of very hot solder on there. But I'm nearly in a minute, so I'm keeping it on. Now the XT90 leads, you're going to pop through this part of the XT90. Now, you will know, when I'm fitting on here, guys, with it being I'm fitting the wrong half of the connector onto this bit, because I do not want any possibility of accidentally plugging that cat pack in series with a battery, because the cat pack would just blow to pieces. So I'm putting the wrong connector on there to stop me connecting it by accident to the wrong part of the car. That's just a bit. That's just in case the more eagle-eyed of you spotted that.
Tin them.
To it. When the pin's in the right direction.
So I'll do that properly. I'm hiding behind the camera. Whoa, what are you doing there? Talking to my subs.
What topic for you?
Oh, here's a sub.
I'm filming like 2 hours of people.
Well, cheating on me.
No.
I'll do it.
I was being bullied
Oh yes, go on lads.
though.
Go on lads! Right, I think that's well tinned, that one. Definitely.
Next bit of thing I'm going to do is put the other connector together there. That means if there is any excess heat in there and the pins that tend to move around at all, but holding it in the other half of the connector, the pins shouldn't move anywhere. Just want to finger tighten the device so it's not moving anyway. You don't want to put excess pressure on that guys. I'll just quickly at the same time guys connect any wires and into the other end of the connector. I would say short bits of wire in here. For goodness sake, hold them in some pliers because it's very, very hot indeed. I can now safely turn that off and I always disconnect it to be on the safe side. Okay guys, I would say when soldering any XT90 connectors on or any battery connectors, if you're swapping them over, just do one at a time. Now I know this is a cat pack, but I'm doing this so people get the principle.
I need a rubber band.
In the cat pack, that's some charge in there. Spark the leads together, but a battery, almost certainly going to have some charge in there, so you definitely want to do one connector taped up at a time. So that's one bit on the today. I don't think there's any charge in this cat pack, but I'll let it safe anyway. So I think first thing I'm going to do is tin both the connectors. I'm going to fill on that halfway full on here.
Okay. So I'm doing it wrong at first. That's always
Too
fun.
much solder in there. Now I'm going to don't want gravity to slide out the other way. You want it sort of covering pretty much front to back on there. Okay guys, now we're pretty much ready to go. You will note positive marking on one side, positive marking on the other side. One thing I would suggest to people, the connectors are unmarked in general. It's the square edged side that's the positive one. Because if you look at our
You
recent
German now.
connector as an example, the positive is also
What is
on
going
the
on
square
there?
side on there.
Oh,
There's some commonality between connectors.
The sort age is just a number.
The smaller soldering iron
they
won't work
called
with
you
these connectors when I was
what is
first
it,
doing them.
Kinder Fidget
I had a much smaller one than this.
Oh, you're a dog bummer. Can't say much.
Nice and doing. I'm just blowing on it. You know,
Put your bumming dogs!
for things to cool down too fast, guys, because otherwise
Clark, nice to
you'll
see you're active again. Yes.
and then fracture. Now we see what we need.
I've been gone.
The connector on first. Now we should
But I
be
am
good
now
to remove
active.
our tape. We've got to be very careful.
Good job I got some extra solder in
for
it.
the battery. Now I'm going to do the next side of the terminal. So if you try this on the DC5 connector, you'll find the blue
Right,
bit
I'll just watch my soldering iron melt away.
simply melt with this XT90, the high temp plastic. This is the melt. Push that down on the top there. Basically, them two pre-soldered bits to bond together there, guys. Again, just gently blowing on it.
What do you
And it should
mean?
be good enough. Now, I always leave them for a few minutes to just cool down to finger touch on there, and then do like a wiggle test on the wires.
Wiggle
Don't do that
test.
to start with while they're still warm, guys. Otherwise, you can break them loose from there. But do the wiggle test and pull the connector like reasonably hard on there, because you don't want it coming loose on your battery in the field and for the sake shorting out against something else or giving you a loss of power.
Right,
When you're out
so,
in the field.
done that.
So, come back to that one in a second. Okay, guys. Well, the Richie wiggle test.
The wiggle test. Yeah, boy.
Means that
God's
the
good at the
connector
wiggle.
around it all. I don't think the other connector, the things it shouldn't be.
I need to get some water so I can clean the...
Finger tighten the device so it's not moving anyway. On that, guys. Just quickly at the same time, guys, going to see
Go on the last room whilst I'm gone for 5 seconds if you want.
No.
Guys, I'll be back.
Very, very hot indeed. I can now safely turn that off, and I always disconnect it to be on the safe side. Okay, guys, I would say when soldering any XT90 connectors on or any battery connectors, if we're swapping them over, just do one at a time. Now, I know this is a cat pack, but I'm doing this so people get the principle of it, because obviously even a cat pack could have some charge in there, spark the leads together. But a battery is almost certainly going to have some charge in there, so you definitely want to do one connector taped up at a time. So that's one bit on here today. I don't think there's any charge in this cat pack, but let's play safe anyway. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is
Right. Oh.
Too much solder in there. Now we're going to turn that round. Just
Yep, soaked my sponge. You know what I mean, Bill.
Pretty much front to back on there. Okay guys, now we're pretty much ready to go. You will note positive marking on one side, negative marking on the other side. The one thing would suggest people
Just clean my
unmarked in general.
Can I just clean it,
Square
please?
edge side that's the positive one, because if you look at our EC5 connector as an example, the positive is
Bit
also
warm,
on
isn't
the square side on there. So some commonality between connectors. Now in general guys, I would say the smaller soldering iron won't work for these connectors. When I was first doing them, I had a much smaller one than this, and they don't get enough heat.
Right.
in the
So, I think I just put it on top.
I'm just blowing on it as much
What?
as you don't want to
I need some...
too fast, guys, because otherwise the joint can be brittle
What?
and then fracture. And you see what
Should I throw another sweet?
No, no, no.
Cleaning your tip. Yeah, boy!
You've got to be very careful at this point, guys, if you're doing it for the battery.
There's gonna be like so many sweets around me, you know.
Now we're going to do the next
Oh, I
one.
can't get out my thing.
Try this on and
Can't whip it out.
You'll find the blue bit. If you have
What is
something
that?
there, it's simply
Bruh.
melt with this XT90
Whip out my tip.
plastic.
Please don't.
Fingers crossed, this is gonna melt.
On camera, just whip out my knob.
Close up again.
That would be so good, would it? That would not be family friendly.
Together there, guys. Again. Just gently blowing on it, and we should be good enough. Now, I always leave leave them for a few minutes.
What are you trying to do to me?
Finger touch on there, and then do like a wiggle test on the wires.
Oh,
You
no.
don't do that subtle, like they're still warm, guys.
Shut
So,
up.
Shut
Shut
do the
up.
wiggle test and pull the connector like reasonably hard on there, because you don't want it coming loose on your battery in the
Yeah,
field.
yeah.
And goodness sake, shorting
Totally
out
get
against
you,
something else, or giving you a loss of power when you go when you're out in the field. So come back to that one in a second. Okay, guys. The Ritchie wiggle test. Those aren't going anywhere in a hurry. You will
Did I order the wrong sizes?
Keeping the leads nice and straight in both directions.
Heat shrink.
You don't want any kind of wiggle out
Who?
to the side with the leads. Otherwise, when you come to slide this connector back on,
Nice.
it won't necessarily go on properly.
Stretch out my heat shrink. What? Could you cut your knob off? No.
Those are my mistakes, guys. The early ones I did with these, I had them quite pushed out at an angle on there. They all look good, soldered on nice and tight.
Why am I being bullied?
The dam cover on the end of it, so that's one half done. And by keeping this part of the connector in,
No.
the pins have gone nowhere. So
I can look back.
now we're going to do the other half of the XT90 connector, guys. Just a couple of tips along the way. The first thing is, again, to make sure both cups are there, so that when
Oh, there we
you
go.
let gravity do the work, you turn it around,
My
same
thing's-
to the other side. Also,
What's
we're
going
gonna
on
need
now?
to do the same, ideally, with the pin connectors on there. But I do not want the heat cell possibly going back into this capacitor pack, and nor might you want it going into the capacitor pack on there, guys. If you're making it, maybe if it's particularly if you're new to soldering, you don't want to.
I'm sorry guys, this is not as entertaining.
Too much heat cell going in and damaging
There's a-
things. So
you would have thought it would
spare
be.
here, which I'm going to plug in at the end.
But if I mess this up,
And I'm going to use that.
I might just burn the shed
Pins in
down.
line. Hope that makes sense, guys. And you connect it. So just make sure you get your solder going right to the back in there, guys. Decent sized double solder we want in there, about half full. A little bit too much there, but you can see it's just beginning to drip, guys. Well, on that, as I say, you don't want to turn the thing upside down.
What a vibe that would be if they just burnt the shed down.
Turn that round. So on your finger touch the voice, you don't want to rush back in the connector. One of
Robot.
these big well soldering arms, 200, 260 watts. Power is the kind of thing that you need to do in these bigger leads, guys. But then, small iron that I had to start with. Apologies to my American friends for calling this soldering.
Come on.
Soldering.
Pull back.
The UK person in me. Really wonders that bad.
What are we laughing at?
It's called soldering, not stuff. A little bit too much there again, Rich. I've already pre-tinned my wires. Keep an eye on the positive red wire on there. To double check them.
Pull back.
Now guys, when you're soldering on, obviously remember check positive. So positive.
Alright.
So,
Pull back my thing.
guys. As I say,
Wait,
to
that
rush
one's
forward.
on.
Let nature do its work. If you do the negative wire. No, you will not, guys. I don't have the end connector attached there. That's because I can slide it on over the ends of the lead. But for goodness sake, make sure if you're doing that to the battery again, make sure this connector is on first. I'm going to leave that cool down. Come do the Ritchie pull test just to make sure it's all alright. Quick flex test on there. Those wires aren't going anywhere. All looks good. Fingers crossed. Doing its job. Snap that down on there. And then remove my sacrificial connector, just use the battery charging lead. So that's guys on there. Anyway, that's the other half of the connector done. Now ready to work cap pack up. Anyway guys, there we have it. That is how to solder XT90 connectors. That is
I've actually done it.
now.
Hold on! What the fuck was that?
And when my cap pack come in, I'm in fraction. So, don't want to end that video guys, just want to be testing them before and after value of what they
I actually just did it.
adds to the car, then don't forget to subscribe. And there's a link to this cap pack.
It's actually on! Oh my god!
One wants one.
Yeah, heat shrink's on.
Thumbs up.
Imagine if I did all that and I fucking forgot it. I actually did it.
Subscribe. Do it in the circle.
It's staying on.
Bell.
Oh! Oh, come on!
To contact JJ Customs down in San Jose. They also
Yeah, you're supposed to take it.
online.
Oh look, there's another packet.
Megan, you're going to Blue Barrel in a minute.
No!
Well, this is a pain in the ass. Can you not? Still that's older.
So I go to the garage, they did a bit of soldering now, changing the connector on my T-Pon from the tracks. Thought let's do a little video just to show you. I've seen recently quite a few pictures, posts, videos on soldering, and I'll be honest with you, I've seen some quite interesting as well. Now, I'm an aircraft electrician by trade. Done a little bit of soldering in the past 20 odd years, and there's definitely some
I think I've done it.
techniques that you can learn. You're not going to learn about this short video
No, but I need to give it a tool test, otherwise it'll come off whilst I'm
to help.
driving it.
So if you use the opportunity to do stuff like making your own leads if you're running twin batteries, making joining leads, you put in extra electronics.
I think that's one.
Just generally being able to
It has stayed on there. It looks on there.
I'm going to go over the common connectors that are used in sort of most RC stuff, which is the fuse connector,
This is bollocks.
your XG60,
This is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
and all such things on XG90, however, we're only just much really good at this one.
I might have back crushed it. I might have not.
I just drank out of it.
You get these cheap ones, this is a 25 watt iron. This is a 50 watt and this has got some adjustable temperature on there. There's no gauge on it, literally just a colour graph there.
Oh my god, it's gonna shit me.
Sorry. It's got it in for your
You've got
arm.
this on here which is 75 watt and you have got a variable temperature all the way up to 480 degrees I believe, that's centigrade.
Yeah, don't throw it whilst I'm doing this, because if I burn my hand again, it's gonna kill
It
me.
gets pretty hot. I always set it to 400 or most of the time.
By the way, Stickman.
Magic number.
Stickman!
You might argue that.
I like Stickman. Stickman are cool.
But for me, I work with,
Oh.
I've always worked with
Can't believe about all that, it's not really like slime, it's fucking.
a little bit of practice. You want to have what you're more comfortable with doing. So the stuff I'm going to show you in this video, it's not, okay, I'm an aircraft electrician, and if you're doing work on an aircraft,
Just go step, bro. No, I don't want to drink. Wasn't end up Chris Brown in you. Right, I can answer some comments now whilst I calm down. And I've got to kill me. We're bringing all them spares tomorrow. So, can I find another sweet? No. I'm totally pissed off. I mean, I'm the king that's soldering. You're just gonna leave. Finley! Oh. That was actually on. Right, so I've done one properly. There is a God. I'm going to do 4 batteries. And there's 2 wires I have to do in each one. Yeah. Oh god. I can't. The heat shrink is too small. Do you need to do the AC as well? Yeah. I'm gonna be up all night doing this. If I do not have enough solder. God damn it. Hold on. No. I mean, that is a dodgy soldering job. I thought I put the positive on the negative, then I was like, kill my insides. No. Not literally. Right. Glue my tip. Should just ask in Sills and Buzz if anyone knows how to solder. And then be like, yo. Oh shit. I might ask.
You're probably getting an on-city doorstep.
Yeah, boy! A nonce at the doorstep, that hasn't been the first time.
Yeah, boy!
Same here.
It's coming nonce. I am a nonce. I am the world's biggest nonce.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I've said that on live.
Going about with, I think going about it's not on-city.
Maybe. Try to stretch out my heat shrink so it actually fits on my ting. Right, snip the other one now. Oh, fucking hell. How do I do this? Kai from the Lego Ninjago. Do you know who that is? I don't know.
Yeah, which one?
Kai from the Lego Ninjago.
Is it kind of on here?
No, I don't know who it is, that's what I was asking you.
It might be kind of on here.
Guy, is it you? It's probably just some random guy on one of those, like, John Jibber. John Jibber! Right. Whoa. It's a bit steamy. it's not hot enough. I don't know if I'm bothered to put a heat shrink on. I can't be bothered. Yeah, bothered. It's not hot. I think it's working. Where's that tin? Hi Kai, hi Pagel. Alright. Yummy. think that one's done. They're horrible. How to just solder in general. Oh.
Hey guys, Chris Fix here, and today
Oh
I'm
my
going to
God.
show you the proper way to solder wires together. The process of soldering is taking 2 or more wires and joining them together, and then using heat to melt electrical solder, connecting those 2 wires permanently. When done properly, you have a strong conductive connection that turns 2 separate wires into 1. And learning how to properly solder is a very useful skill to have, whether it's for wiring an LED light bar, like in Project Nightlight, where I welded up a roof rack and then wired some bright LED lights on my truck to illuminate the trail both forwards and in reverse. Or Project Police Interceptor, where I wired police lights, a siren, dash camera, and other electronics to make a fully functional police car for a police officer. And looking forward, we have the Drift Sting, which is my drift car project, where I'll be wiring gauges and other goodies into that car. And we'll also have Project Nightlight Relit, where I'll be wiring a winch, a bunch of off-road lights, and I'll also be fabricating a front and rear bumper out of metal for the truck. And these 2 projects are going to require a good amount of soldering. So I figured now's the perfect time to teach you the proper way to solder, and the best part is, you don't need many tools. Here are all the basic tools that you're going to need. You'll need a good soldering gun, flux and solder, a good wire strippers, heat shrink tubing, a heat gun, safety glasses, and a sponge. Now while these are all the products that you're going to need, I'll also show you some other products that you might already own and you could use as well. And everything I use in this video I'll link in the description so you can find it. And before we begin, here are a few safety tips. Always use safety glasses, so if the solder pops or splashes, it won't get in your eyes. And although it's common sense, soldering irons get hot, so you don't want to touch them, and you don't want to lay the tip down on anything, because it'll burn. You want to make sure you pay attention to where you're soldering, and don't solder near flammable materials. And also, if you are soldering inside a car or something, you don't want the hot solder to drip onto the carpeting and start a fire. So always slide something non-flammable underneath that if the solder drips down, it'll drip on this instead. Another thing you don't want to do is breathe in the smoke from soldering. So make sure you use a fan or work outdoors in a well-ventilated area. And the final safety concern is most solder has lead in it, and you're going to be touching this solder. So when you finish soldering, you'll want to clean off your workstation and wash your hands, especially before handling any food. And with those simple safety precautions in mind, let's get soldering. And soldering is really easy to do, and what makes it easy is using the correct tools. And one of the most important tools is the solder you use. There are 3 main types: leaded solder, lead-free solder, and silver solder. You don't want to use this metalworking silver solder, which is designed to connect metals together like tubing and sheet metal. The other thing is this silver solder has an acid core in it, so it's not meant to be used on wires because over time, the plastic insulation will be eaten away and expose the wire and cause a short. So that leaves us with lead and lead-free electrical solder. Both of these will work to solder wires together, and lead-free solder is more environmentally responsible, but lead-free solder just doesn't work as well. Lead solder is easier to work with because it soaks into the wire strands better and has a lower melting point, so that's what I primarily use. And I prefer this 60-40 rosin core solder, which gives me the best results. And a quick tip, just in case you want to know what kind of solder you have, maybe you have unlabeled solder and you don't know if it's lead or lead-free solder, this is how you can tell. On the left, I'm using lead solder, and you can see, once it finishes cooling down, lead solder has a shiny look to it. On the right, I'm using lead-free solder.
I'm trying to solder.
Once that finishes cooling down, it has an etched or corroded look to it. It's not shiny. So that's a quick tip on how to tell if you're using lead or lead-free solder. I already mentioned that I like using rosin core solder because the rosin protects the wires from oxidation. But I like to go one step further and use a rosin paste flux, which is another layer of protection from oxidation.
Yeah.
When you heat up metals like the wire ends
solder,
or even
it's
your
not doing
soldering
well.
iron, as the unprotected surface heats up, oxides form and coat the copper and make it really difficult to solder. And it could even create a bad connection. I use this rosin paste
all my
flux,
connections
which is
are bad.
non-acidic. It actually comes from tree sap, and you just coat the wire like that, and now the wire is protected. If you don't use flux, trust me, try it out. It's inexpensive, and it makes soldering easier, and your soldering job that much better. And finally, the last important tool that you'll need is a soldering iron or a soldering gun. Now I like the soldering iron because when you turn it on, it stays on versus pulling the trigger on the gun. This is a smaller soldering iron, so it's really good for smaller gauge wires, nothing thick. It has a narrow tip, so it's good for working on circuit boards and in really tight places. But when soldering on cars, I prefer using a soldering gun. This is 140 watt, and you could use this on thinner wires, or, because it's more powerful, you could even use it on thicker wires.
Soldering iron's getting like red hot.
And if you use a soldering gun, you'll know that you need these specialized tips for it, and they're about $5 each, so they can get a little pricey, but I have a little trick. What I like to do is I like to go to my local hardware store and buy this 7-strand, non-insulated electrical wire. This cost me $1. And from this big wire, you can cut smaller strands of wire at about 5 to 6 inches long, and then what you do is you bend the wire so it's shaped exactly like your store-bought tip. And throughout this whole video, I've been using my homemade tip, and they work great. From one of these strands for $1, you could get about 14 tips, versus one of these tips that you buy, which is $5 each. So that's my quick tip on saving a bunch of money on making your own tips. And if you're working somewhere remote where you don't have access to electricity, you can get one of these portable butane torches, and they sell these adapters that go right over the top, which could easily melt solder. So now you know what tools to use for soldering. I'm going to show you the 5 simple steps to solder. First, you need to strip the wire, then add your heat shrink tubing, physically connect the wires, solder the wires together, and then shrink that heat shrink tubing to make a waterproof connection. Alright, the first step is you need to strip your wires. You could use an automatic wire stripper like this, which is actually pretty nice. You just put the wire in, pop it, and the wire is stripped.
Right, so
These wire strippers are great, they're nice and easy, but personally, I like using one of these old-fashioned wire strippers. So you can see written on the wire strippers are the different gauges of wire. I know this is 12 gauge, so you just slide that into 12, and you want to have about the same amount of length stripped off each wire, which will make connecting them easier. Now just squeeze down on the strippers and twist back and forth a few times. And then while squeezing, hold the insulation off. And that's all there is to it. And one thing to be careful of while stripping wires is breaking the strands off the wire. Even though it seems insignificant, if you remove only a few strands, that could increase the resistance and heat up the wire in that area. And if a fuse doesn't blow, the wire could melt and cause a fire. So if you break any strands by mistake, just cut the wire and restrip it so you don't have any strands missing. Alright, with the wire end stripped, we can move on to step 2. For step 2, you're going to grab your heat shrink. I like having a kit like this that has a bunch of different sizes and colors. And when picking your heat shrink, you want to try to find the thinnest heat shrink that'll fit over your wires. The really wide heat shrink like this that has a lot of space around the wire isn't going to shrink enough to seal the wire. So that's not going to work. You want something like this, which just barely fits over the wire, and when this gets heated up, it'll shrink nice and tight. Now make sure you have enough heat shrink to cover part of the insulation and all of the exposed wire. And don't forget to slide your heat shrink down the wire and slide it away from the area that you're going to be soldering, because the heat generated from soldering could actually shrink the tube. Now for the third step, we're going to connect these wires, and there's a few different ways you could do it. I have 2 ways that I use all the time, and they pretty much cover every step.
Does it? It's hard. Just looking at me.
The XT90 connector is the big brother in the XT connector family and is designed to handle extremely high currents. It is not very common in the freestyle and racing side of the hobby scene, as its bulky size makes it unsuitable for mini drones. Nonetheless, it is worth taking a look at it, if anything, for the sake of completeness. And this is everything you need to know about the XT90 connector. By now, we should all be familiar with the XT connector family. Nylon plastic, usually yellow, cylindrical brass contacts. The size follows the established trend in this connector line, stepping up from its smaller equivalents by a constant ratio. The cup at the bottom will hold a generous amount of solder, and comfortably fit wires as big as gauge 12 and 10. Officially, the XT90 is rated for a mere 90 ampere, and we can confirm that at that current, the connector will stabilize around a chill 17 degrees Celsius. But let's be honest, even my electric toothbrush will draw a little more than that on a warm day. So of course, we tested it, and found that during the 10 seconds burst,
The XT90 will handle up to 270 amperes. When we pushed things a little more though, we found that the wires will desolder at around 300. Still though, 270 amperes, that is a lot of current. In fact, it is a little too much even for a 12-gauge wire.
Let's see. XC90s are hard things to solder. Number 15.
Guys, this video is all about how that XT90 connectors. I'm going to try and keep it as simple and to the point as I can. What do I need to go to XT90 connectors, guys? Well, I'm saying JJRC Customs to my SS armor and faction. Now guys, when it comes to soldering XT90 connectors, do not think that they come apart like an EC5 connector does.
Do they not?
So don't be tempted to go and try and hammer these pins out or anything like that, because it will end very badly, as you may gather from the slide master.
Are you watching on the phone
Made that
as
error,
well?
so learn from my mistakes, guys. Anybody wants me to do a video on soldering the EC5 connectors up, then please shout away in the comment section below the video. Before soldering any connectors like these, you need to make sure the wires are well tinned. Now, you can use your soldering iron for doing these, but if you're doing if you've got any kind of volume operation, I'd recommend getting any one of these tin tops on here. Yours for about $1 from your local electronics store.
Right, so I got my solder. So I need to tin it like so. Turn that bitch on.
In a matter of seconds. This is one of the best time savers in electronics I've ever bought. Because you can do battery leaks just as easily.
Right, I need to search how to tin. How to tin your connections. Well, search the track this video. God. I'm hiccuping now.
Today we will demonstrate how to replace the battery connector with the Traxxas high current connector. You'll need the female Traxxas high current connector for the battery. The housing and terminals for this connector are labeled with the letter T. Tools needed include a pair of side cutters, a wire stripper, a small flathead screwdriver, rosin core solder, and a soldering iron. There are various types of soldering irons that you can use. A 40 to 60 watt iron with a chisel tip is recommended. Safety glasses or goggles are also recommended whenever soldering. Set up on a hard, flat, heat-resistant surface in a ventilated area. You can lay out a piece of wood or metal, or achieve a tinfoil to catch any dropped solder. Plug in the iron, but be careful, it will heat up quickly. Once the iron is hot, use a wet sponge to remove any old material from the tip. Be sure to cut only one wire at a time to avoid shorting the battery. Start with the black wire, leaving as much length as possible when cutting the wire.
What?
We'll use the wire stripper to remove the wire insulation, leaving no more than 1/8 inch or 4 millimeters of wire exposed. Just before using the iron, pin the tip by coating it with a small amount of solder. Now carefully hold the soldering iron to the exposed portion of the wire, heating it until the solder melts when it touches the wire. The solder should melt quickly if the iron is sufficiently heated. The solder should flow around and coat the wire. Notice that one side of the terminal is labeled wire side. You will solder the wire to this side of the terminal. Hold the heater tip of the iron to the wire side marking and apply a small amount of solder. Now bond the tinned wire to the terminal, making sure that no portion of the wire or solder goes past the solder limit line. Apply heat and pressure to the tinned wire with the soldering iron until the solder melts and bonds with the terminal. You can use the wire stripper or a pair of pliers to hold the wire in place if it becomes too hot to touch. The solder should melt quickly if the iron is sufficiently heated. After giving the solder adequate time to cool, Gently pull on the wire and terminal to test the strength of the connection. Now insert the terminal on the black wire.
I don't have to
into the
tin the
open wire
tips. It's
on the connector
fucking
housing.
hard.
If needed, use the flathead screwdriver to apply.
Oh, what's going on there? I got spammed for a second then. I'll take 10 and 1.
New Colgate Xmaxx Light Ultimate makes every smile unbelievable. It's the first enzyme beauty toothpaste with a professional whitening ingredient that reverses up to 15 years.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
No.
If you've been following the videos for a while, you know I always talk about tinning wires before you solder. And I always say solder flows where solder's been, so it's always best to tin, tin, tin. And I received a couple questions about it, so I figured I would do a quick video today to show you how I tin a wire.
Yes.
Which is how I was taught by an instructor in the U.S. Navy 30-some years ago. Okay, so
Wow.
before we get to the proper
Sounds
way
really
to
good,
do it,
some
we're going
good
to talk
info.
about the not proper way to do it. So if you've got your wire here, and you've got it stripped, and oh God, I'm just going to assume that you would twist it first. I hope, anyway. Now what I've seen a lot of people do is just take their soldering iron and just glob a big old glob of solder and run it like that. I mean, okay, yeah, it's tinned, but it ain't pretty. I mean, you can see the oxidation on there. So let me show you how I would do it. And we'll do 2 wires, we'll tin them, and we'll join them. Now we already did a video on the Western Union splice, so if you haven't seen that, check it out. Okay, so first of all, twist your wires.
Yeah, boy.
The direction of twist doesn't matter. Just twist them tightly. Now I'm just putting them in here like this so you guys can get a good view. You don't have to have them this close together. Clean soldering iron tip. Just a touch of solder for thermal transfer. Then put the soldering iron on the wire, let it heat up for a few seconds, and when it's hot enough, capillary action will simply pull the solder into the wire.
Okay.
Then wipe off your tip.
Oh. Wipe off my tip. That's what we're talking about, fellas.
Remember, just a touch, a drop of solder. And like I said, it's just for thermal transfer. We're not trying to impart any solder to the wire. Let the wire heat up, and when it's ready,
Oh.
the solder will flow into the wire. Capillary action will cause the solder to be pulled into the wire. Next, you want to use a pair of flush cutters, nippers, whatever you want to call them, and cut off the end of the wire. Always cut off the end. So you have a nice flat spot. And then what I like to do is try and get them about the same length. I mean, we're not going with a micrometer here. Now, I know these are stubs, and I could have done it afterwards, but because I'm trying to show you, always put your shrink wrap on before you solder the joint. Now, I'm just going to reflow these together. There will be enough mechanical strength in the wire that as long as you're not pulling on this, it's not going to come apart. So again, a dip of solder on there.
Yeah, wait for that to warm up.
melt
I'm getting more ideas what to do.
the wires. Use the wet the soldering iron. Melt them together. Try and hold it as steady as you can. And now they are flowed together. Put your shrink wrap on. A heat gun is the proper way.
You got him a last
You melt
one?
your shrink wrap. I don't have a heat gun here.
Hmm.
So just using a lighter. The lighter's about an inch under it. There you go. Pretty strong. Not as strong as the Western Union NASA splice, but it'll do the job. It looks good. It's strong. It's a valid electrical joint. You won't have any problem with excess resistance. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Big thanks to all the patrons, and a big thanks to you for watching. That's it. I'm out. Peace. This is a beginner's guide to soldering. So if you are thinking about giving soldering a try, or if you had a go at it and you're not very happy with the results you're getting, then this video is for you.
Done yet? No, I find it really hard. I'm gonna have to get some special dude.
I'm also going to be going through some
I haven't done one battery yet,
to ensure that you get unique
and I'm worried.
One thing I want to mention is the pronunciation.
I might just leave these two batteries. I might just have one set of batteries tomorrow. Which is great, but
Pronunciations based on the word etymology. But at the end of the day, as long as we all know we're talking about the same thing, it doesn't really matter. The basic principle of any kind of soldering is to bond two things together and solder as the glue. But soldering electronics has the added requirement that that joint needs to be electrically conductive. So looking at the equipment requirements, you're going to need a soldering iron. And they come in a variety of different sizes and prices. You can get one for just a few dollars, and you can spend thousands on a soldering iron. The cheaper type generally has the main cut right out the back of the soldering iron. They generally don't have any sort of temperature control. And if you're lucky with those cheap ones, you might have a replaceable fit. The next step from those is to go with the station. Generally have a base station with temperature control, and then the irons connected to that base station. The soldering station usually have replaceable fits as well, and it's much better to have a really good range of pumps and fits as well. My recommendation for this sort of work is to go with the soldering station. I mean, they're a little bit more expensive than the basic soldering iron, but you can get them for quite cheap. And it's much better to have that temperature control on the soldering station. And as I say, you're probably going to end up with better quality, finer tips on a soldering station as well. Now, I use a Hakan FX 951 soldering station. They retail for around about $500 here in Australia, but I'm pretty sure you can get them for $500 in the US. They have the absolute worst interface, but the thing I really like about them is that you can actually remove the tips in the middle of soldering. So if we have a look here, I can actually lift that out and remove that tip even when it's hot. The difference with this soldering station is that the whole tip is the actual heater, whereas some of the cheaper soldering stations, the heater is in the handle, it's got a small bit of, the tip which just sits at the top of that heater, and the heater transfers the heat to that tip. Now, because these actually have the heater in the tip itself, it's much more effective. But it's only this end bit that gets hot, the base stays cool. So you can actually swap these out while you're in the middle of a soldering job. And I generally use only sort of 3 for the soldering, and they're just different sizes, bevel, edge, tip. I generally don't really like the conical tips that you can put in the pointing stuff, which is a shame because most soldering stations come with the conical tip as standard, and some of them only have the option for the conical tip. There's no bevel tips even available for them. So this is one of the things I really like about the Hackett station. There are interactive tips. Now, even though the Hackett is a solid station option that we don't, I'm not going to use it for this demonstration. I'm going to use this POS soldering station that I picked up from my local.
Yeah, I think we'll ask someone. That's my dad, but he lives all in Brooklyn.
Now, I've never used this soldering station before. I've never taken out the box, so it could be very useful. So when it comes to the temperature of the soldering station, generally settled around about 400,
God's sake.
which is about 7 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the melting point of the leaded solder is about 180 degrees Celsius. So 400 plus 3
Right guys, probably gonna end the stream here because yeah, you need to make the wire soft. You have to hit the wire more and flow the solder in the wire. It's so hard, like, I thought it was fucking work. It's so complicated.
I'm not super fussy about it near enough as well. Okay, so I've got my little soldering station all set up. It's a kit. Got a tiny wee little tip on the end of it. We'll see how it all goes. So the next thing I'm going to do is go over solder and flux and the relationship between the two. So I'm just going to click over to the microscope here. And so over here, I've got a piece of solder here. This is from a roll of solder.
I think that might work, but I don't know if I'll.
And if you have a look here, right
I'm not sure if I'll
scalpel,
keep carrying this on. Don't want to ruin all my batteries.
through the middle. You'll see when you open it up, that inside, there's a little channel flux inside there. So there's actually flux inside this solder. The flux there. And that just got to give you an indication of just how important flux is in the process of soldering.
So yeah guys, I'll bring you back when I'm more doing some I'm making a video tomorrow. Probably I'll definitely be able to bring a car tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to be soldering everything on, just to keep it safe. And then I do have extra solder, so if I learn how to do it a bit better. I mean, the info that someone just gave me then of keeping it on for longer and pressing harder, I think that just worked, because it just went in then. So I'll calm down a bit, and I'll be back later. But thanks for watching. Some of you have been really patient, so I really appreciate that. I've been here for an hour. I've been barely talking, doing barely any entertainment. So when I finish with the soldering, I've got some upgrades and stuff to do in this car. I need to fix the shocks, so I'll probably be up till 3 o'clock in the morning, so that's going to be great. Anyway, see you later. Woo!